Oh, wait. I'm supposed to do it with this. Hold on. You're on the new camera. You're on the new camera. This is so exciting. This is so exciting. I have a new, hold on. Oh my God, I feel so bougie. Does this work? Oh God, I don't know. Hello, I think we're ready to go. Hello and welcome back. My name is India. I happen to read a lot, and welcome. Hopefully you will see the increase in quality. If not, I spent too much money on a camera for no reason. So welcome back. I am going to be talking through with you today the 25 books that I planned to read in 2025 and whether I read any of them. And spoiler, you're gonna be very disappointed in me. It has probably been about half an hour since that first clip that you saw because I, for the life of me, can't figure this shit out. The way that this video is going to work, we are going to split the video into 3 parts. The first part, we're going to discuss all the books that I read, what I liked about them, did I like them or did I hate them? Then we're going to talk about the books that I DNF'd. Why did I DNF them? Clearly didn't like them. Tell me why. And then the last part is going to be about all the books that I didn't get around to reading and do I still want to read them? So tuck in. Also, I don't think the battery on this mic lasts very long. So if the audio on the mic cuts out, deal with it. The audio was pissing me off in the last camera, hence why I had to get this new one and a mic because I'm not going to bore you with it. So the first book that we are going to be talking about, the first book that I read in its entirety was The Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. This is a collection of short stories written after his Books of Babel quartet finished. And I'll be honest with you, I also should have read that the minute I'd finished the Books of Babel quartet because I wasn't the biggest fan. I was about a 3-star rating for this one. I really struggled with it. There was one specific story following a character called Byron dealing with his depression and his mental health, which I loved. But I didn't really like anything else. I think it's because it had been so long since I finished the series that all of my memories out the window. Couldn't remember a single thing. Couldn't remember a single thing about those books. And before any of you come at me and be like, see, this is what happens when you read over 100 books, you can't remember a single thing about them. I have ADHD. Right? Once that's in, it goes as quickly as it comes in. All right? My brain's on to the second thing. Okay? Shh. Anyway, so yeah, it was fine. It was a 3-star. I didn't love. The second book that I read was, I've got my notes here. Cover Her Face by P.D. James. This was the first book in the Adam Dalgliesh series, and it follows Adam, who is solving the murder of a maid in this like rich family's house. That book was fine. Again, this was another kind of like 3-star rating for me. I really wanted to like it. I own the sequel, but I just didn't work. I did like the character work and I did think her characters were very well written and very layered, and the beginning of the mystery was really fun. I just found the ending to be incredibly overwhelming, and I'm not a fan of stream of consciousness writing. If you're writing a book and you're like, maybe India would want to read it, but it's stream of consciousness writing, like we are just not gonna work. We're not gonna work. I don't like stream of consciousness writing. And that is what the majority of that book is. We are so inevitably in Adam's mind for a lot of it, and I just found the pacing to be so slow. So slow. So unbelievably slow. I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest with you, to the point where I wasn't really considering reading the next one, but I own, it's somewhere here, I own that second one. We might as well just read it. The third book that I read was Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. This was an epistolary, not epistolary as I've been saying, epistolary novel following a documentary being made about this one guy's family as they try to find out how his stepfather died. And it's written in the form of transcripts, newspaper clippings, audio, something, I don't really know. But it was really interesting. I liked all the characters. I love the epistolary format in general. I love it. I think it's so good. I'm a big fan. So I really enjoyed it. It's definitely more of the slower paced, and I did guess the ending quite quickly. But overall, it was a really fun novel, and I think I gave it 4 stars. Then my fourth book that I read was The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, which, if you know me and you have been on this channel since about I want to say like March or May of this year. It was one of the M's. You will know that I read and fell absolutely head over heels, completely obsessively in love with The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. An incredible fantasy mystery following a young boy who, well, a young boy, he's a young man who works with this very crazy, quirky, elusive detective to solve the murder of a very high up official in this remote manor house, right? It's such an interesting world. It's set in a world where every summer season, known as the rain season or the tsunami season, I can't remember, these leviathans will attack the country. So they've built up these massive walls, think Attack on Titan, and every summer they like try to bash through, and they are fighting these bloody leviathans every summer. And what they gain from these dead leviathans enables them to enhance their bodies. So for example, our main character has maggots in his brain, but it allows him, maggot kinds of things, but it allows him to remember every single detail in a room that he sees, every single smell, every single thing he hears. He can remember every single conversation. So it's kind of very science fantasy, a little bit of eco fantasy, if you will. It's not science fiction, but the way that science and biology and magical science works, it's incredible. And it's an incredibly layered and interesting mystery. I absolutely loved it. We read it for my sci-fi fantasy book group earlier in the year. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 stars. I own the sequel. The sequel is actually in my 26 books I want to read for 2026, but it is absolutely incredible. Then the 5th book, which technically I'm still reading, but I do think I will finish it by the end of this week. I'm 70% of the way through it. It is The Will of the Many by James Islington. At the moment, it is tracking to be about I want to say 4.5, probably a 5-star read, following an orphan called Viz, who gets adopted by a senator in the Katenan Republic and is tasked with going to the Katenan Academy, which is made for children of elite families to further their education and get them ready for being a member of the Senate or holding high positions, right? And he's been adopted under the very specific reason that he has to find out what happened to his adoptive father's brother, because he died when he was 17 at this academy, and that he has to go and find information. What his adoptive father doesn't know is that Viz is actually Diago, Prince of Seuss, which is an island kingdom that the Katenan Republic oppressed and colonized, killing his entire family, and now they rule it. And he has been on the run, kind of trying to survive ever since. And now here he is, adopted by one of the senators of the Katenan Republic, trying to find out what happened to his adoptive uncle. But is there more than meets the eye? That's really good. So that will count as book 5. Then we go to the books I've DNF'd. I know, I've only read, I'm pretty sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 25. We're now moving on to the books that I DNF'd and why. First up is The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic. This is a very complicated mafia, gay, sports, university book that you can read for free, which I fully respect, but which it's a very complicated, like, is it hockey? Is it lacrosse? No, it's just very gay and also very traumatized young new adult men who really should not be in each other's vicinity. There's also somehow the mafia is involved. At certain points, I fully understand why people are obsessed with it. Like, I fully get it. Unfortunately, the dialogue was the thing for me. I can get past the mafia. I can get past the sports that doesn't make any sense. I can get past how every single person in that room is unlikable, shouldn't be in the same room with each other, kind of annoying. I can get past that. What I couldn't get past was the cringing so hard into my toes dialogue that I had to DNF it. I'm not going to yuck someone's yum. There's nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't for me. The next book I DNF'd, and I do think this will have me burnt at the stake, is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. This is an academic fantasy. Now, I'm going to as such a major hypocrite because I've been very open on this channel about how much I don't care for fantasy academia. I don't really care. It's not really for me. I'm sorry. It's just not my thing, right? And now I'm kind of reading The Will of the Many, which is going to be a 5 stars. Call me a hypocrite, but I also had to read The Will of the Many for book group. Okay, so there was a little bit more pressure. and I've also made a New Year's resolution alongside learning to drive, which is that I will not DNF a sci-fi fantasy book group book. Okay. Anyway, The Will of the Many has one of the best opening chapters, and I think everybody should look at The Will of the Many for this is how you do an opening chapter, right? 10 out of 10, no notes. The notes then come in when you read the subsequent chapters, and I am in very much Marie Kondoing when it comes to DNFs. The minute I don't enjoy it, gone. Gone. I'm not bothering with it. I don't care, right? I just, in the world where I have all these books, you've seen my shelves, I can't sit around and read a book that I just don't care for. And it's also very disappointing because that was an amazing first chapter, but I just didn't care for it. Like when I started reading things going, I've got to get ready for the exam. They've never let a woman in for more than once every 5 years or whatever it is. I'm sorry. At least not to compare The Will of the Many and Blood Over Brighton because I've only read a couple of chapters, so there's no way I know anything about that book. But at least with The Will of the Many, my audiobook, it took 35% before we got to that academy. In this one, you had the best opening chapter in the world, and then we just started talking about gender bias in academia, and I know that. I'm good, personally. Sorry. Then we have Cuddy by Benjamin Myers. This is another epistolary novel about, well, I thought it was about St. Cuthbert, but now I don't think it's about that at all. I think it's all about a sense of place. And it's told through poetry, which I will say, the poetry that I did read was very good. The poetry was good. It was a lot of historical accounts, a lot of prose. Again, unfortunately, just the writing bored me. And I read this earlier this month in December, and I've got to start doing my end of year videos. You know, I'm literally after this video, I'm filming my top 10 manga graphic novel books. I'm not reading any more manga and graphic novels now for the rest of the year, for the last couple of weeks, because I've locked this shit in. So if I'm not enjoying it in December, that's gone. And unfortunately, even though I appreciate Cuddy for what it is, I just didn't love it in that capacity. The next one I DNF'd, and this is actually genuinely makes me sad, and this is the only book in the list, and probably one of the only books in the history of ever that I've regretted DNFing it. I'm devastated that I didn't continue this, and that was The Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Tsujimura. This is a contemporary speculative story about a young girl who's being bullied at school and stays at home because of that. And one day the mirror in her bedroom wall lights up and she can go through it. And she ends up in this very big European castle with a girl dressed a little bit like Red Riding Hood, wolf vibes. And they basically introduces her to, I think it's like 6 or 7 other students. And she basically says, hey, in this castle, there's a key. And if you find that key, you then have to find a secret room. When you find that secret room, you can make a wish that that will make your dreams come true, right? And if you find that, cool, you've got for the rest of the school year to do it. If you can't do it, then your memories of this place will go or you'll die. A little bit of extra fun, a little extra spice for you. And it's a lot of a discussion is actually about bullying in Japanese society, anxiety, depression. It's a very, very beautiful book, but at one point I ended up putting it down for a reason I can't remember. And then it took me a whole month to pick it back up. And when I picked it back up, my focus had shifted and I didn't finish it. And then one day I thought, oh, how does this end? I will pick it up at another, maybe in the new year. How does this end? Googled it. The best thing I'd ever heard. The best thing. Sounds so amazing. And I'm kicking myself because that's the kind of shit that I love. I love that stuff so much. And I'm not going to read it. And there's nothing to blame. It was a good book. I just didn't get around to finishing it. I got about 60% of the way through. Oh, that was it. And that's it. That's 9 books altogether if you count read and not read. I know, it's bad. Now we're going to go into the books that I haven't read and if I still want to read them. So first up, we have Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Big fan of her work. I cannot remember anything about what this is about. I think it's like film noir, thriller vibes. It's about like Hollywood. Oh, it's about Mexican horror movies and Nazi occultism. Well, I have it on my Kindle, so I will read it at some point. I don't know when though. Next up is Watermoon by Samantha Sotto Yambao. This is like a fantasy, portal fantasy book with a bit of romance in it. And I will be honest with you, I was really excited to reading this. I was planning on reading it very, very early in 2025, but I saw a lot of not so great reviews for it. And because of that, I kind of put it on the back burner, and every single person I trust of their opinions had said it wasn't very good. And because of that, I was like, I'm not going to read this. And I haven't, and I probably won't read it. Then we have The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. Again, I can't really remember what it's about. I think it's like a god comes down to the world and then two people escort the god from one place to another. Yeah, two warrior shepherds escort a god. That sounds fun. That sounds really, really fun. It's one that I am trying to convince the book group this year, well, next year, to read it. I'm like, Sci-Fi Fantasy Book Group, we will read this at some point. If you're watching this, we will read this. It sounds really good. It's definitely one I hope to, in some capacity, get to next year. It's not on my 26 and 26, but it's one that is a high priority. Then we have Heavenly Tyrant by Xiran Zhao. This is the second book in the Iron Widow trilogy. I originally was meant to be a duology, but it's now a trilogy. And similar to Watermoon, I'd heard rumblings that it wasn't very good. It was kind of suffering from second book syndrome. And I commented on somebody's TikTok about how much they didn't like Iron Widow and said how upset I was because it's been on my list for a really long time. And they said that they would recommend I read it, but maybe wait till that third book's out and then read them one after the other, which is probably what I'm going to do. And I'm definitely going to audiobook it because I audiobooked Iron Widow and the audiobook was very good. Then we have The Haunted Wood by Sam Leith, which I started this year. It's technically on pause, so this technically is a DNF actually. It's just very history heavy on an area of history that I don't really, it's quite a dense book. And it's talking about the nature of when is it that adults go, children went from being adults in history to then becoming children, and the where is that shift? Because obviously back in the old times, children were treated probably a little bit more like adults than they are now. I also read this ages ago, so I'm completely paraphrasing. But he's currently unpacking when did children become children, which then, what does then create children's literature and children's fiction. But we need to understand when humanity decided to separate adults and children, which is very interesting, but it's very dense. So it's currently on pause at the moment. I think I'm going to have to audiobook it. The next one is Penance by Eliza Clark. Yes, without 100%. It's another like literary mystery. Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Then we have The House Witch. This is just another cozy fantasy. I have heard rumblings that it's average, but I don't know, maybe next autumn, not now. I'm not in the mood for reading something like The House Witch now, but maybe next autumn I might do. But it's definitely one that stays, definitely one that I do want to read. Then we have The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I majorly get Starless Sea vibes from this by Erin Morgenstern, which, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm getting the wrong end of the stick. It's about a magical library and two people kind of traversing a magical library. I'm saying that, but now I'm questioning myself. Yeah, there you go. There's more to it, but that's kind of the crux of it. I do desperately want to read it. I'm very surprised why I haven't got around to reading it, especially considering this year was the year of tackling bigger fantasy novels. I'm very surprised why I didn't tackle a big fantasy novel. Anyway, yes, definitely still on the list. Then we have The House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This is a tentative yes. I just don't know when I'm going to be in a place, now that this kind of moment has gone for this year, when I'm going to pick up The House of Leaves. It's just going to stare at me from the shelf. There it is. It's up a bit. It's going to stare at me from the shelf, and one day we'll have that moment together, but today is not that day. Then we have Who's Afraid of Gender by Judith Butler, which is also a yes. I just didn't read as much nonfiction. We'll talk about this in my wrap up, but one of my goals was to read more nonfiction. I've just not done it. And I think part of that is I struggle to keep reading nonfiction. Like, I've paused The Haunted Wood for months now. So I think now that I'm listening to more audiobooks, I want to focus on audiobooking nonfiction, which I think will keep my interest more than reading it. Then we have Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Poranek, which is inspired by House Moving Castle, which is what piqued my original interest. Still the goal. The goal is still to read it. I also have, I believe, her Swan Lake retelling now. I just need to crack on, but definitely still fancy. I did hear rumblings that it was kind of average, which is I think why it took me so long. But sometimes when those Goodreads give you very average looking ratings, it actually means they're good. You shouldn't trust the 4.5 upwards, because then it's just popularity. That 3.5 to 4 sweet spot, 9 times out of 10, it's good. Then we have The Memory Police by Yoga Ogawa. No. Really, I think my moment with that's gone. I'd heard some things about like the author's views on certain things, which is definitely another reason why I'm like, no, so just a no for the memory police. Then we have The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think now that I've read, like, obviously The Will of the Many, James Islington and John Gwynne, I kind of give them the same vibe. And I've been really loving this year. Well, I definitely didn't read as much chunky, big fantasy as I'd hoped. I have been loving, like I read Assassin's Apprentice this year, which was incredible, The Tainted Cup. I'm just really have been enjoying getting back into those chunky fantasies, and I do want to keep that going into 2026, is just maintaining those epic fantasies that I had neglected over the last couple of years, because I've had another taste of it recently and it's good. Then we have The Tongue Glass by Gareth Rubin, which, yes, it's a mystery where you have to, like, one half is on one side of the book and then the other half you've got to flick it over. I love a gimmick. Fucking love a gimmick like that. So, yes. I don't know actually too much about the mystery. All I can remember is that gimmick. Then we have The Principle of Moments by Esme Chikiemi Pearson, who is also writing a fantasy academia book now called Gutter Witch. It's coming out. Principle of Moments, yes. Yes, again, this is another book that I'm trying to convince the group to read, because we don't read that many sci-fi books. So I'm like, guys, let's read this sci-fi book, please. So I'm going to convince the book group for this one. We have Silver Under Nightfall by Rinch Pecco. This is a vampire hunter throuple situation. So for that alone, it's a yes. But I've not read any Rinch Pecco, and I'm a bit kicking myself that I haven't read it. But that is also a yes. So most of them I'm going to keep reading. God knows when. They're just going to sit on my shelf until the moment is right. I do like to approach books a little bit like, which am I reading? Tell me. So we'll see. But yes, that's it. That is the summary of my 25 books I want to read in 2025. If you want to watch the video where I'm hopeful, I will tag it. And you can see the light in my eyes, which have now dimmed since then. I also have a list that's out, which is the 26 books I want to read before I turn 26, which is really, really good. Most of that list will amalgamate into a brand new 26 books to read in 2026. They kind of are the same list, just merged, because it's fun and I want to do what I want to do and I don't have to explain myself. But there will be an official 26 books that I want to read in 2026 coming out in January. But if you want a good solid taster of what those books are, do check out that birthday video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I will see you in the next video, which I'm about to film now.